All right. Welcome to the mod. Thanks for checking it out. Thank you for the subs. I think someone just mentioned we broke 6,000. That's cool. I'll wait for people to get in here and then we'll talk about what we're going to do tonight. Assuming people show up, I just switched the stream days from Wednesday and Friday to Tuesday and Thursday for the summer, just because my wife works half days on Wednesday and Friday during the winter or whatever. It's kind of cool because we can catch up a little bit before the stream kicks off. We have some time together, but we've got great weather at the moment. The garden's looking good. There's a lot of work to do, and so that'll give me an opportunity on Wednesdays and Fridays to get up and spend some time in the garden and not like be under pressure to get back in stream time. So there you go. That's my story. Nomly fans, Quixana, Gunnar Meeks, hello. I had an idea for this stream. I didn't run it by anybody. So I don't know how people would feel about it, but could be that we might do it on this stream. We'll see. Hey, Justin Beard. Another bit of housekeeping. Next Thursday, I will be out of town. So I'll be around for the Tuesday stream, but not for the Thursday stream. And we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll try to make it up with another stream. But I mean, honestly, for a lot of what we're doing on these streams, once a week, you're not going to be at too big of a loss, are you? I'm rarely doing ultra exciting mission critical stuff on here. Unless that's happening off camera. Hey, Tsunami-san. Jazz Solo. Separo, what's going on? Feinder. Hoops. Dark Inside. Hey, Matthias. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, Tsunami-san. Hey, Tiff. Tiff said everything new we see is always super exciting, and give more credit. Appreciate that. Hey, Viro, Doggeroni, Coot, Zadvik. Bowl of coffee looks great. Yeah, it's a half-liter cup. Man, my posture during the day in this chair is getting so bad. At some point, maybe I'll ask for Christmas or something. At some point, I need to get like another adult chair and maybe sit in it properly. Hey, Marcy. Sparrow, hello. Yeah, gardening season is upon us. It's going pretty well. Knock on wood. We're going to be out of town next weekend for a massive airsoft event. I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000 people. Something crazy like that. So we're going to be gone basically Thursday through coming back on Sunday morning. It's not super far from here. It's a couple hours. So that's going to be fun and exciting. And we'll need our garden neighbors to water our plants, but this year, rather than mess around with a bunch of seedlings or seeds and stuff like that, and like do everything, we just went to this really great garden store, and it happened to be like one of the only shops that's open on a Sunday here in Germany. So a couple Sundays ago now, we went and just got some plants that were well on their way, and got them planted, and everything except for one cucumber. I was trying to think of the word in English. Everything except for one cucumber plant made it so far. Like no slugs so far this year because it's been pretty dry. Nice and sunny, dry. So it's been very different than last year. So fingers crossed we make it through the whole season like that. So how bruised do you get from airsoft? It's not very. You'll get like the tiny little purple mark about the size of a pencil eraser for the most part. If that, depending on where you get hit and at what distance. They can.
It might hurt.
It'll sting briefly. It's not bad.
Saw people bleed.
You can bleed, yes. Jasmine saw people bleed. She didn't do it though. She did no scope 180 blast some kid. So I was very proud of her. He popped up over a hill and she just whipped around and blasted him.
I only do bloodletting for work.
Yeah, she only does bloodletting for work. But yeah, if you get blasted really close, you can definitely get like a little pellet embedded or bleed a little bit, especially if it's like somewhere hard. But I mean, that's why you wear facial protection. I've been zapped in the head and all over the place, and so far it's not been super bad. Let's see. Yeah, Dargeth, it's crazy. It's very American of me, shopping on a Sunday. Sparrow said it didn't bother with too many seeds this year either. Yeah, it's just our neighbors have done everything from seed and went over there and they've got a ton of stuff and it's cool. It's funny. I'm actually really happy just buying some healthy looking plants. No, it's not a soft pellet. It's a hard plastic pellet. But again, it's not super bad. You just want to wear eye protection. We recommend you also wear a mouth guard because it can take a tooth out. So that happens. It's not super common, but you can lose a tooth if you get shot in the mouth.
I should take some
business cards. You should. Viro said, I got shot in the ass about 2 feet away, ducking behind a box. That felt awful. I mean, it does not feel great. Oh, good job, Bjorn. Bjorn's been updating here. So we're in Fallen Pass, doing updates right now. So this is today is Thursday. Zukin said, thought no stream till Thursday. It's like, it's Thursday, buddy. What? I did, yeah. I did that the other day. Someone said something about like, I forget, somebody said something about, or asked me when I was going to do something. I'm like, I'm not doing that until like Thursday. And they're like, that's tomorrow, buddy. I was like, oh shit, really? Oh no. Poor Zukin. What's the joules limit for your field? I will have to look. All I know is all of our weapons are under the joule limit. And it's weapon dependent, right? So we'll be taking 2 gas blowback ARs and 1 sniper rifle and then our sidearms pistols. Tiff, the bad influence, said too many cheaters in the local airsoft scene. for me. Prefer paintball, harder to cheat. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not, I'm not super worried about it. Like, it's fun just go run around and shoot BBs at people. So, but we'll see. I'll come back. I'll come back after this week. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Like all pissed off somebody was cheating. Yeah. So new textures are going in. We've been talking a little bit about the rock swap and stuff like that. So that's going on. New textures here on the ogre towers. Is it more enjoyable if the BBs you're shooting are directed at annoying teenagers? It's just fun to shoot people in general. KB Mango, thank you for the follow. You can feel free to clip that. That's okay. Yeah, so we've made the tunnels bigger as well. Let me see what this feels like as an ogre. It may have to be even bigger, to be honest with you. We'll see. So we're eventually going to have, we may have some caravans and stuff going through here. So we may have to make this even bigger. So we'll look at that. Just make the caravan duck. Stick to finger guns. Finger guns are good. That's what I've been doing ever since I moved to Germany. They're like, "Well, where did you move from?" And I'll say America, and they're like, "Where in America did you move from?" And I'll go, "Texas," and give them the finger guns, and they love it. The natives love that. Stop looking at me, Swan. Hey, Mango. Am I muted? Did it mute? It didn't mute, did it? I didn't bang the mic, did I? I've got such a janky setup. Okay. Mango, you lied to me. Oh, what is this? Probably no shampoo is better. Dude, I wonder if Jasmine's seen that movie. Oh man, Viper. Oh, pineapple. Do you have your hat in like a glass case that says breaking in case of emergency? My hat? Why? My American is showing again. Yeah, Sparrow. I cannot get away from it. I ham it up a little bit for the locals as well. Oh, someone mentions me wearing a cowboy hat or something. It would make sense. I do at the garden. I've got like a little gardening cowboy hat. Couldn't move to Texas, way too hot. Once you get used to it, it's fantastic. I thought I'd never be able to live in a place that's like this cold and wet, but I've gotten used to it as well. Got some rocks being replaced. Those of you that have been watching the journey in here, you can see now we've got different textures on a lot of the rocks, so they blend in a little bit better. This is all stuff Bjorn's been working on like the last day or two. Is that the new ogre animation? I don't think so. Though we've got a bug right there that we've got to fix. You can see it in the back of the robe. Michigan has the right climate for you most of the time. Yeah, after living here, I believe I can live comfortably in just about any climate. insects in Alaska are bad. I've seen some videos that indicate that it's kind of an extreme place to live. Looks like we've had some additional props put in. We've got those rocks swapped out. Hey, Sinris. Yeah, so I think this does the trick. Ooh, we got a texture of these guys. What's going on here? Not those guys. They're already textured. The floatins. We'll be redoing the water in here. This water will be green. It'll be gross. Green, gross water in here. All right, so these need to be taken care of. We use a different water shader for swampy water. Darius, our water in zones may vary considerably by the time we go live in general. A lot of what we're using, you'll see some weird things going on. Right now we're using Crest, what we're using for the ocean. And it's interesting because it basically just puts ocean all the way across the zone. And so then we have to go in and with like splines, deform that plane so that stuff, you know, doesn't have water in places and all sorts of stuff like that. It's kind of a pain. We love the way the ocean looks, but the water everywhere else can kind of be a pain in the ass. So we're looking at different options. Unity 6's options, the new there's a new version of Crest, which I think is also easier to use. We may only use it in certain areas and then have everything else be like separate, you know, like a separate plane that's using different shaders and stuff. So, Ebony Spice, that used to be my stage name, said, "Hi there, I'm so excited for this game. When is the release date? Check it out. I will give you FAQ. Click that link. It's the early access FAQ, and it's got everything you need. But I can say our planned early access window is the first quarter of 2026. So false advertising, you don't know, Sparrow. You don't know what I'm like on stage. You'd have to you just picture more emo and not mahogany for me, but definitely spicy. Should I turn the coffee shop into a dance club now? Why not have a dance club coffee shop? Get everybody jazzed up on caffeine and dancing. I think we may want to come back in here and fill in some more rock props and stuff. This is my first time seeing this. The work got checked in a little bit ago. I think we need to do another occlusion bake. That's cool. We're behind the scenes. We're doing. So those of you that weren't here for recent previous streams. We're going zone to zone right now, and just kind of we're going to be looking at like what do we think the big impact polish work is that we need to do. And so Nick and I are looking at data and design stuff, and Bjorn's helping us out with the pulling in Goblin and other people that worked on the zones and whatever, and then just kind of seeing what we can come in and quickly do. So that's what we're doing in here. And so it's, big effect things like there were a ton, if you watch previous videos of there's a lot of these boulders and stuff in here, trying to give the zone some more shape and stuff, but they were a light color, so they really stood out. So it's getting a new texture on them. We've added in some new sort of rock types that are a little more sandstony, angular stuff. So just kind of prepping things. And then a lot of the data stuff that we're looking at is like, there's an area over here that's nothing but like placeholder mobs. They're all like level 36 fighters. And that's been really easy for people and friends and family to just, kite the shit out of and level up on. So getting the right class, level mixes in there, sort of finalizing that, getting a few events fixed up where they've got placeholders in at the moment, but need some actual like stuff going on. Checking out abilities and checking itemization gaps and some tuning and stuff like that. So it's stuff that I wish I was talented enough to be able to really work in data during a stream and like show it off and be like fast and on point, but I can't. If I'm watching chat and talking to you guys and thinking about what we're talking about and stuff, me fumbling around in the database, you've seen it before. It's not the most exciting thing. So that's why I come in here and do a lot of like, for me, every hour that's project related is an hour that is chipping away at the giant pile of stuff that needs to be done. And there's a lot of stuff that I do that I just can't do on stream, whether it be lore stuff or feedback on certain things or like I'll tell you in a few minutes, the high point of my day and probably the high point of my week. I'll tell you about it in a minute, but it's like, it's shit that you're going to be like, that's boring. Or I just can't share it. Before we get to that, Etris said, side topic, I bought Dungeon Crawler Carl book 1. So far it's hilarious by chapter 3. It's great. It's fantastic. It's honestly I think it'll be up there as one of my favorite things of the year for sure. So I'm really, really loving it. Jasmine and I love the series. The audiobooks are just fantastic. Best audiobooks I've ever listened to in my life. The voice acting is incredible. So we don't turn it into another DCC stream again today, but maybe later. The thing that I was just mentioning, since it's early in the stream, I can mention it and then we'll get on to other stuff. Probably a high point of my week, to be honest, is just the fact. Sorry, I was just reading a comment there. Like we've run across what I'm hoping will wind up being a one-stop solution for handling our HR, like our hiring, payments, compliance, all the employee related tax stuff, all that stuff. So I had 2 calls, I think, this week. Had 1 call today, and to me it's like such a kind of weight off my shoulders, because we currently, well, first of all, the first thing that has to happen, and this is something that I was talking to the company and are really cool about, is like, we got to see if we're going to get any money. We don't know if anybody's going to play, right? So if people play and we have money that we can then, start to basically pay our crew and stuff like that, well, it's looking like if this works out, knock on wood, they support employment, like they're compliant in 120 countries and all of the US states, and they handle full-time, they handle contractors, they can help us with it sounds like for sure they can help us with setting up Phantom stock plan. I we'll have to double check, but I'm not as worried about like the profit share part of it as or whatever. But I think they've got that as well. I have to go through. They've got a really super. She walked me through the interface, just the whole setup, and it's like I hate that type of stuff so much. Like I hate taxes, I hate forms, I hate paperwork, but it's such a big part of like my part of the job. To be able to find a service that actually does that, especially at a reasonable rate, like to me is like, oh, man, this is cool. Because we've got people on the team. We're based in Bahrain, Germany, Serbia, Spain, Finland, Sweden. Am I missing any more over on this side of things? I think multiple provinces in Canada, at least 5 or 6 different states, right? So, and that was just, it was such a, and the thing is we love the team, and we're like so fortunate to have the team that we have. And I've like been sweating, like, how do you deal with like people spread out just across the states is crazy enough, right? Because they're so different. But across the world, so it was just such a relief talking to them, and like it just seems like a very good quality service, and it's just solid. So that's the kind of shit that where I'm like, today I did that. The bank that we're using is like a online bank, blah, blah, blah. It's easier for us. And it got like bought by another bank I had to go through and update paperwork there. And I'm like, I hate paperwork, but yeah. So if you guys are interested in like the real shit when it comes to game development and having a studio, it's stuff like that, right? Like it's not all just, hacking the matrix from within your Lambo. Meek said, as a former business owner, I can totally relate, and that's the kind of stuff you have to get right. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like we don't want to mess that up. We don't want to mess it up for 2 reasons. One, we don't want to jeopardize the company. 2, that's people's money, right? Like once we're at a point, hopefully that we're able to pay people, we want that to be smooth and reliable and just solid. So yeah. Is there a merch store for M&M planned? Absolutely. We have one that we've used in the past. It's really gone dormant. Probably towards the end of summer, we'll really dust it off and get things ready to go for next year. Is there a way that you can buy into early alpha? Perhaps you have an alpha plan soon. You won't have to buy your way into that. So we're gonna continue to discuss some dates with the team, but like our goal is to sooner rather than later maybe provide you with some good insight, like clarity on what the testing is going to look like and what your opportunities are going to be for the rest of the year. And so that's on the list to get done. I really need to follow up. The first pass of like kind of the concept and stuff was bounced off the team, and they it looked good. It was kind of like blocking out the time as well on like a calendar that shows the rest of the year, and just asking people, hey, does this look roughly okay? I need to confirm our plans with my wife as well, and look at that. So don't let me forget. And Swanee said this time I actually checked with my wife. Yeah, I that was on my list of things to discuss when she got home today, actually. It's on my list, but it didn't happen. So I need to check with her, get that figured out. Sooner we can figure that out, the sooner everybody on the team says, yeah, it sounds good. The sooner we want to update you guys and let us know what our plan is. And because a lot of people are asking, and there's a lot of like, how do I get into super secret alpha, or how do I get into super secret beta and all that stuff? And just a spoiler, the goal is actually to do more longer open public testing. So now by longer, don't get any crazy ideas. It's not going to be weeks or anything like that, but some nice longer periods throughout the year that we can then take all that data and continue to, have our friends and family kind of in the background doing what they're doing, but then get some nice chunks of feedback and exposure to you guys, and without maybe, having you guys like burn out or whatever. Ebony Spice said, my friend Dietrich loves this game. It sounds like you've got very solid quality friends. So yeah, so we'll try to get that posted to you guys. Inevitably, it's going to work for some of you. It's not going to work for others of you, and we apologize. But hopefully, there's enough opportunity before the end of the year that you guys get some chances to get into the game and check things out, and hopefully it's something where by the time we go live next year, you're excited and you stick around. So just running through right now, and again looking at these rocks a bit more to. If you see stuff linking and all that stuff, we've done a lot of replacing the props. Oh, we got to fix these boards as well. We've done a lot of prop swapping today, and I don't think the occlusion's been baked. Nomer said, Robot, you made my day. I needed it. Everything seemed to be going wrong today. And just for clarity, I hope you guys don't run out and say anything crazy about what I just said. I'm trying to be as, without being ultra specific, trying to be as vague but get the point across as possible, so it's not immediately Discord's like, Sean said something, and then the team's going to be mad at me. We want to have some nice chunks of time that give you, a bit to be able to come in and play, and throughout, it'll be a few times before end of the year without, what was I going to say? Shit. I just vapor locked. Were you about to give specific play test dates? I think, Coot, not yet. But what I'm saying is we're working towards trying to give you guys some specific play test dates, and we want to get that. We want to get that to you sooner rather than later. How's FNF doing? Oh man, he spawned his horse. This is what happens to your mounts, guys. Though I wonder if the horse is still super OP. Are you healing him? Let's see. So how's FNF doing? It's doing really well. Oh no. We got a horse is down. He is dead, Sukin. You'll be able to get him rezzed. Horses will be expensive. Horses will be something that will be aspirational. Aram, thank you for the follow. Do you have to summon a cleric to raise your horse? A horse cleric? Reviewer, yeah, it's been good just having people get into higher levels, and lots of exploits have been found and all sorts of stuff. Our guys are super steadily busy behind the scenes. You know, we've added a couple people this year that have also been helping. So Rift has been helping. If you see Rift in Discord, Rift is basically taking on trade skills. That was that trade skill role that we had posted a while back. He's been blasting on that. And then Runaf has been has come in as a balancer and just been like really looking at all of the numbers, nerd magic, and formulas and stuff like that. So that's been really nice. We're catching a lot of stuff. We're getting feedback, and there'll be stuff where we're like, well, that doesn't sound right. And then we can get, you know, oh, what's going on here? We can get with like Runaf and show him, and then he can dig in and maybe find that it's something in a formula, or its stats are doing something different than we thought, or we had a legacy test bit of code in or whatever. So we're catching a lot of that now and getting it hammered out. So that's really fun to watch. I'm mainly just you know, I just kind of peek in and see what's being discussed. So that's cool. Does that fix if I reload my client? Yeah, it does actually. Zillith/Chip just got in a cool thing with mounts that you guys are probably going to be excited about once you get in and actually start working with it. So there's different riggings that you can use on the mount, and that allows you to like have the mount be set up to be rideable. So then it's a saddle within saddlebags, makes them rideable, and there's, you know, over time, like different setups will allow you to have like different saddlebag configurations and different saddlebags which have different capacity. The mounts in pack animals have stats, so you'll be able to modify those as well with certain items. So there's the barding. So, you know, stuff that they're wearing. If you looked at the last update, you'll be able to see some of that. But then you can also have it set up so that they're really more of just like a load. It's like a load bearing rig, and so they're, you know, they've got the more bag slots, plus the bags have a higher carrying capacity and stuff. So you can go out, if you're mining, you can really load them down and then bring all that back to town. So you know, some fun stuff going in already, and that'll allow us to play around with like those systems and figure a lot out during early access and stuff, and make it a pretty in-depth and robust setup. Aram, am I pronouncing that correctly? Aram, I think it's Aram, right? Aram said, hello, been loving the progress on the game. Keep up the great work. Thank you for that. Limited in indoor dungeons. Aram, okay. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I was like going, okay, Aram makes absolute sense now that I look at it. Are pack animals slated to be able to carry money? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question, Golden Pineapple. Make sure we don't forget that one. Yeah, Ebony Spice. You had asked if there will be mounts in this game. Here's one right here. And not only will there be mounts, but mounts are targetable by NPCs, and they have inventories, they have stats and stuff like that. Zilla said, "My horse just fell down the pit." That is a nightmare scenario. What is the intended purpose of a pack animal? Doomwaffle, it is to carry a lot of stuff because you can't. If you look. Can we see, can you res a horse? I don't think we have horse reses in yet. But you will be able to. Horse looks like it would struggle to carry you if it wasn't already dead. We've got a video of Zillith as an ogre on a horse. Oh, that's interesting. Wonder if we have a bug for this. John, do you know if we have a bug for this? There's a hitching in the climb animation now. That's new. I was reading the bugs and it sounded like there's some weird animation bugs that popped up, or... Let me reload my tune. Before I do any like post in the bug channel, I was just gonna ask you, I don't know, John NS, if you're out there, or maybe Chip knows. Yeah, so I think overall this texture swap is gonna, it covers our needs. I think we're good now. How many gnomes will fit into the ogre-sized backpack? We'll have to expand on the system to allow for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun for our programmers. Does climbing still twitch without Sal? Well, so this hitch is new. Let me go back to the ladder and I can drop Sal. Why do you not have the super speed ability on your GM client? Do you have the ability to fly? I do, but it's so fast that between the speed and the frame rate that I currently have in editor when I'm streaming, it's kind of... And I do have the ability to fly, yeah. So there's that hitch. One of the cool things about making video games is there'll be stuff that works and then it won't work. There'll be stuff that works forever and then one day it doesn't work anymore. I'd be very curious to see if analysis was done. I'd be curious to see the ratio of time implementing new stuff versus time spent debugging and trying to fix things. I know on the design side that's very much the case as well. Look at all the splinters. Oh man, I can't wait until we've got turtles in a game. Turtles look like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And invariably, there will be a strong urge to get these guys together. But we shouldn't do that. Does it hitch if you're holding down move versus auto run? Finding repro steps is always a treasure hunt. I can try it. I'll be honest with you. I'm often not that thorough when it comes to repro steps unless it's something that of mine that's broken. I have a tendency to just be like, hey guys, this is broke. And even now, like I should be doing that, but I'm not. Let's look and see if it's being discussed in the bug channel. Let me do a quick search first. Search. Climb. In bug discussion. Nope. I'm noticing noticing the climb animation is hitching at the natural loop points, both ogre and gnome. Is that a known issue? I'm in the editor with latest. John's pretty much a repro king. Yeah, we're fortunate. John's fantastic. Nick is fantastic. All right, so we'll try it with, what's going on with my mantle right now? It's turned into like anime robot wings. It's the speed mode. Reload. Poor Zukin. I stretched it out in my ogre form. That's funny. Alright, so auto run does the same thing with auto run. Hey, Zerky. Alright, so we've been here. Let's fly over there. But overall, I think we're good. We're gonna wind up being in good shape. We just gotta... There's some, like, texture blending mishaps and little bugs and stuff like that for us to hit. Hey, Rediker. Hey, what's up, Bill? How you doing? How's the pinky or lack thereof? These days I barely even think about it until I like ram it into something. Oddly enough, I was talking to Jasmine about this. I bang the stub of my pinky into stuff non-stop, whereas I used to not bang my finger into anything. And it's just, I think there's like a weird depth perception or whatever that you get from your limbs that you're not aware of until one's gone, and then it's kind of like it throws it off. So that's kind of funny and silly. How does it feel? I don't think that would be, I think that would be unpleasant. Yeah, it is. It is not a great feeling. It's not the best feeling. But I mean, it's, you know, what can I say? Like we were talking about airsoft earlier. Pain is temporary. Arachnus said, my brother and I are hooked on Dungeon Crawler Carl because of you. I'd like to think that we have helped, you know, because you guys turned me onto it. And then I've told more of you about it. I think the book one, which came out whenever that was, like 2019 or something, is it's just hit like the top 10 charts for its category. So like people are getting into it. It's pretty awesome. What's up, Naris? I made it through book 2, bought book 3, but haven't started yet. On book 4, Arachnus said. What do you think, Bill? You like it? Jasmine and I have just restarted book 1. You love it? Awesome. Maybe there'll be a relationship between increased book sales and MMO player count. I'll continue to promote it, and then maybe if enough people like get into their Discord and ping them and all that stuff, we'll be able to convince Matt that NWC is the only company that could make a game out of that series for him. One of these years. Eminem's future in jeopardy because of DCC? No, that's not how we operate. Eminem's future is we're going to go as hard as we can to be as awesome as possible so that we got enough clout to be able to do something like that while still being able to be us. No homages in our game to popular fiction and stuff like that. We want our world to be, you know, as internally consistent as possible and as much just ours as possible without like. When I was on EQ, we were really jealous of like how much fun the WoW guys were having with the pop culture references and stuff, but I think they've done that. That's their thing. So for us to like include silly references to real world stuff. Oh, little bug. Okay. That's not for us. We don't want to take anybody out of the immersion of the world. Yeah, a lot of people have actually been pretty both supportive of that, but also, you know, also pretty firm in not wanting that type of stuff. And now when we were just screwing around in like year 1 or whatever, if you went back and looked at that, like we're doing all sorts of like very overt references to things, but it was like, it's all placeholder stuff. Yeah, if a game's ever made from the DCC property, I think Jeff Hayes needs to do all the voices for it. Bill said it's great. The voice acting is really good. Really feel for Carl. Everyone has had that moment. They needed an item, but it never drops. Yeah. Oh, and all of the... We need collision, I guess, back. I didn't even check these. Did all the collision break on these? Yeah. Okay, so that'll be another thing. Not all of them, apparently. So let me write down a couple notes while we're here. Lemon Candy said, need lore to be consistent so I can figure it all out. Like the merchant outside Northgate, that's a great reference. Yeah, in that type of situation, that's, you know, honoring somebody from the community or something like that, or from the team, that's not a problem, but, you know, not going to put any, like, Night Elf Mohawks in the game or anything. All right, so... Collision on rocks. Get near the outpost. Maybe get Jeff to do VO for one of the M&M races at one point. If you did, which race would you choose for him to do it? I mean, by VO you mean just like the little sounds that NPCs make? Because nothing's got like full VO. Just like the little squeals and get hits and stuff. Well, that's an interesting question. There's a new video in the soundtrack playlist. New one? Is there a new one, Chinny? Yep, there is. Nice. Give him a script that just reads, hup, hup, ow, ow, hup, ow. Shannon Bay says, I really respect no references. I want to take the world seriously, and that starts with the world taking itself seriously. There can still be humor and lighthearted stuff that makes sense in the universe. Yep, absolutely. Good looking out, Chinny. Did that get posted in Slack? It did, didn't it? Music sounds. Oh, there it is. It's in there. You guys wanna check out a new... You guys want to check out a new song from our maestro? Not the maestro from DCC. Oh, goodness. Not the maestro from DCC. That guy. Our wonderful Robert. Glurp glurp. You guys. Hey, Simon. All right. Do I need to turn up the volume? Well, I'll pop onto this track really quick so we can check the volume. Is that going to be good? This isn't the song. Still too low? Bit more? Alright, I'll turn that up in Streamlabs then. Oh hey, look, it's the other art. It's the original art. Okay. This is not the new song, Darius. Oh, he's doing cameos in the video now. What? That's amazing. The music is called Shadows of Aetheril. Man, there was a lot going on in there. That was there's like five or six songs in there where I'm like there's sections in there where I was like that could just be a whole another song pulled out of that. Man, that's just awesome. Also, I can't believe I didn't realize that's how that sound was made. That's like I've heard that in like Miami Vice. I thought it was like a tom or something. Dude, and the synth and stuff, the 80s vibe in there is so good. Love all of that always from Robert. Robert's just a genius. Robert is legit just a genius. But like this thing. He pops up with that thing at some point. I'm like, it's like the Miami Vice drum. What? I just always assumed that was like, I don't know, electronic or like just a drum, regular drum kit kind of drum thing. It's freaking, it's wild. The beaded gourd. I was like, that's legit something like somebody's parents who have money. That's like a living room prop. It sounds awesome. Dude, yeah, and some of it just like right in here. And I love any of the stuff like early on, any of the stuff that's kind of like back. If you're my age or around then, like Saturdays after cartoons were over, there'd be like an adventure flick or something on at like noon after Soul Train. And dude, and it would just, and there would be like, that kind of mystery sound. Oh yeah. Also, I agree. Voice of Reason. That was definitely a great comment to just come in first time chat, just out of the blue, like right here. Keith said Robert does a good job of putting a ton of energy and emotion into the music. Yeah, I mean he's a emotional guy. Like he's a lover. Man. Then up in here. That transition. Yeah, that trill. Dude, that sounds like a mystery is afoot. Oh man, I'm excited about that. So hopefully everybody is really excited about that. We have all of this posted on the playlist. Playlist is updated. That should be it. Let me know if that link is not to here. So definitely pop in on your own time. Be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to comment. And yeah. And you guys can listen to this soundtrack. It's adding up. We got a fair amount of stuff. 25 tracks on there now. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. You just go in, you listen, and hopefully it reminds you of the game. Nerve-Wreck said the best games have great synergy between music and in-game environments. I don't know how y'all's dynamic works exactly, but it is absolutely amazing. I feel the world when I play it. Honestly, man, like it's of all the projects I've worked on, this is probably the absolute least forced project. And what I mean by that is like we don't have a ton of like process overhead. We don't have a ton of like, how do we don't have a lot of meetings and like and for better or worse, there are some things that maybe could benefit from more structure or project management overhead or whatever, of course. And over time, especially when we're live, we're going to have to adjust some of that stuff. But I think one of the real big benefits of being a volunteer based, I was actually talking to a friend of mine, industry buddy who I've known a long time now, probably like 10 years now, who's back in Germany, and we're just chatting a little bit, seeing if we can like meet up soon. And we're just kind of talking because he's not really an MMO dude, or that's not what he's moved into career wise, but very knowledgeable game designer. And we were just talking about the project, and I think one of the things that's been an advantage so far for us is because we don't have the opportunity to be like in an office 40 hours a week, all in the same time zone. We just have kind of a slower pace, but because it's a slower pace, we haven't run into the same like traffic jams and weird coordination like issues and like meeting overhead to try to figure shit out, because like we need to know this tomorrow because we've got 20 people waiting to start working on the next thing. And then right, like a lot of it is kind of this async fluid. And I mean, there's definitely, like environment guys will probably mention like there are definitely opportunities for us to like provide more input on the front end or have more regular updates or whatever. But I think the way that we work is one where it's just kind of always being kind of worked on, and so there's a lot of communication that's happening or should be happening, can be happening, and that's allowed us to just kind of, I don't know, have something that's got more vibe than it does just feel like forced. I that's my take. I don't know. I guess we'll see. And I think with the music, I mean, a lot of it is just that Robert's a very special character, and then I think another part of it is just like, again, he's part of this, like, he immerses himself in the subject matter and gets the vibe and all of that. So I don't know. So this will be running in the background now on the loop. We'll try to get the levels to a good point where you can hear me and it. So help me out. Hey, Scruffy Bard. But we're very focused on feel. And the reason why we're very focused on feel, I mean, it's got to be built on solid systems and foundation. But like, we want to create a place that you're excited about being in. We'll take it all the way back and have it in the background. Like, this is a place for you to come and relax and lose yourself. And Kratos, I was waiting for somebody to say something. I didn't want to have to be the one. Perez Dispenser says, I hear an Eminem song for the first time and already feel nostalgic about it. I love it. Right? I mean, it's in the name from day one. Okay. So we've checked stuff out here. I think we're good. Oh, let me write a note on that size of those doors as well. Thanks, Fabrizio. Nevar808. Hello. We're currently at 6,069 follows. Nice. Shadow distance is really problematic in Fallen Pass. Because of the like the super long draw distance, and then oh, didn't even notice that. I assumed that was either like a geo problem, or is that just where it caps out in terms of rendering? Zillith. So which part is the problematic part? This part, right? Like where this semicircle is? The fact that it's stopping there, or? Okay, let me make a note. So, opening. Shadow draw distance. And you said it's either hitting max for the game or zone. But that's nothing I can tweak on the fly, is it, Chip? To look at? Not that I feel I need to do that, but no, just out of curiosity. Hey, what's up, you shoes? Invisible parachute, yeah. Gotta check my risers. It is, you can look at the sun object and change it at runtime. Pile of bones with the name Beetle under you is on my short list for next playtest. Right on. Good luck. We'll be looking at spawn rates and stuff. He should be itemized. If I'm looking here, Chip. I assumed it was in environment, desert. Have you adjusted well to typing with the pinky gone? It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. Filter for bright sun. It's a little bit of the pain in the ass because so much gaming wise is left shift and left control. All right, see you, Chip. We'll take a look at it. I've written it down so that we can so that we remember to take a look at it. This is all outside of my wheelhouse, so I'm not going to spend much time looking at this because I honestly don't know what I'm looking at. So I can absolutely see what he's saying now. Like now it's hard not to see it, and I think if we if we get it adjusted, if we can adjust it, then that'll definitely look better. All right. It has been noted. But yeah, I guess this whole area should be nice and shadowed right now, and it is not. Thanks, Fonny. Yeah, the beetle having items is one that I was fairly certain about. Cool. Make sure I'm not missing anything in Slack. Cool. Okay, nothing crazy. I'm gonna kill this for a moment. Go back in and make sure that I've got everything looping, because anytime you touch anything, it winds up screwing up YouTube's looping. Excuse me. So I was thinking about something earlier, and it was like I was wondering if it's something that would be interesting to you guys, whether or not it would convey well, whether or not it works well on a stream. And you know, like I don't know, like what would the stream think about it? What would the team think about it? Whatever. But we've done brainstorming in the past, but we're spending so much time in zones and stuff right now that I thought, I don't know. You guys, let me know if you think the rest of the time that we have on the stream, we could mess with this. Let me know if you think this seems interesting. I can basically go back into that, or there's definitely some stuff I can find to do. That there's always stuff to chip away at, work that can be done. I can see what zones have been checked in. There's plenty of like busy prop work and stuff for me to do. I can do that. I could, just pick a tune and play or whatever. But one of the things I was gonna do is like a variation on the brainstorming that we've done in the past, but something that we haven't done before would be like kind of pretend like we're in a just an early stage design meeting where we're coming in and designing a very simple zone. And then, for the pros that are out there watching or whatever, you could be like, that's not how you do it. But I swear, this is how we've done it in the past. It's how we often do it. And so I was thinking about that one. It's like, is that something that would work? Because we've got a pretty big world. We're not going to be able to do all of it even for 1.0. But there's enough bits there that we could work in what could potentially be a real zone. And what I pictured us doing is just kind of like discussing it, talking about some of the thought that goes into kind of whiteboarding a initial draft of a zone, especially if it's not like super. Some zones you go into it and you got like 20 pages of documentation where you're like, every nook, cranny, and mouse fart in the zone. Like, hey, this is very specific. In my experience, sometimes you go at a zone and it's like you have a few things that you need from the zone on the design side. One of which may just be, we need extra space. We want some space between this zone and that zone, right? And so kind of like a traversal zone, something that feels a bit more like a Karana or something like that, right? And I've seen like on EverQuest expansions when we were just going hot and heavy, we would often provide a pretty simple map, like just a whiteboard kind of map, and a paragraph of text, and that would be that. And the artist would go, okay, well, what about this and that and blah, blah, blah. And so what you'd wind up having, and we see this in M&M as well. What you have is, like I said, some zones, they're more specific. Other zones, somebody like, we've got a dungeon that's being worked on right now by Simon Baloo in chat. Simon and Chinny have been working together on zones. Like the most recent one that they've did together was Shallow Shoals, and in that one we had like we had a map and we had an understanding of like what some of the islands were going to be and blah blah blah. And then that's a good example of like, then they get in there and they get kind of creative and they're like, oh, what about this? And then there's just that back and forth where it's rad, because then the expectation isn't that like design has all the say, and you get that creativity from different vectors. And so, but like Simon's currently working on a dungeon where he actually pitched over and was like, hey, I've got a map drawn out. Like, what do you think about this? And I can't remember. I don't think it's like the original purpose wasn't 100% what it is now. And then it's like, what if we layered in this other stuff? And then he's like, oh yeah, and then went with it. And it's like, okay, boom. So anyways, I like how Adam Yanis does some of his design present. I'm going to click on that so that I've got it for later and I can check it out and learn from it. Nice. I'm actually going to scroll ahead from where you timestamped and kind of look. Oh, cool. I think I've watched this guy's stuff before. Tight. Yeah, so what I was picturing was like, we could easily come in and talk about a zone, right? Like, and some of the things, and I'd be curious to like kind of hear what your expectations would be as well. But like go in and just kind of talk about some of the things that come up in a early design for a zone. My assumption here is that those of you that are in the stream, in the chat that might participate, my assumption is that you kind of, for the most part, like the zones that you've been in so far, I hope. If not, then it'll be interesting to kind of like see if what you don't like about our zones or whatever comes up, and then that might be something where it's like, oh shit, we're missing the obvious, and we can incorporate that into our process. But in a zone where it's essentially let's go into this one basically. Well, first of all, do you want to do this? Are people wanting to do this? Because again, I'm more than happy to like hop in and do something else at the moment. But I was just trying to think of something to mix it up a little bit, and I was thinking about this earlier today. And who knows, like we may land on something and then we may take it to the next stage and take it to the next stage. And then you guys can basically be, part of how a zone got made. All right. So let's start from the point of view of, oops, this is really big if I'm that zoomed. So let's zoom in. Let's just delete that. 100%. Cool. So let's assume we've got this zone, and we're gonna put this zone. This zone doesn't exist at the moment, right? Like it is a zone that we've discussed in the past, and we took off of the schedule because Eacher said that's a sticky situation. If I were to ask if I like lure Guck during development, I'd say hard no. I hate dying deep in unforgiving maze, need a corpse run, but today Guck is legendary. Yeah, so don't worry about that. And no, we're not going to do anything crazy like new game rules or anything for this zone. Like this is going to be a very vanilla zone, right? Like, and there's going to be a lot of constraints put on you for this, right? So let's just picture on, with this zone is essentially to add some additional space, some additional play space, and to make it so that these zones on either side are not so close together, right? So we've got a zone here and a zone there, and we're going to sandwich this one in between them to add some additional play space. And so I'll give you two names, one of which you'll be familiar with. The other one you probably won't be familiar with because I don't know. You may have seen it in other streams. This isn't really a spoiler. It's information that you'd be getting soon anyways. And yeah, so it's essentially a Karana, but we want to go a little bit. We want to make it one that's got some stuff in it that you're into it, and you guys are going to contribute that. But this zone over here is called. It is Fields of the Lost. That is correct, right? Fields of the Lost. It is Fields of the Lost. And then over here, we've got Keeper's Bite. So Keeper's Bite, you guys are familiar with, right? Like there's an ocean and stuff over here. And then there's a desert down here. What's Karana with a purpose? Yeah, I mean, with our farming and stuff in our game, like, man, you could own a farm in West Karana. That would be kind of cool. All right, so let's just pretend like that represents desert or something. Let's see. Anna Pupper said, goopy dark swamp with a tone of giant mosquitoes and undead. That is going to be further east. So there's going to be a fair amount of that on the East Coast. So that'll be future. So Fields of the Lost is actually, it's an area that you'll learn more about in the not too horribly distant future. But that's essentially the site of all of this is in Califrey still, right? This is the former Elven lands. And what you see outside of like the Wood Elf village, right? Like, so, this here is Evershade Weald. You guys are familiar with that as well. If you played like a Wood Elf in the last playtest, then you're familiar. And these guys are connected, right? So, and I don't know if you need connections to understand what's going on, but we'll do it anyway. And cool. So we're putting this zone here, and we once had a pretty crazy design and really beautiful map that Nicodemus did. Nicodemus does these really wonderful maps that I think you've seen from time to time. And we had this for this, and this was a zone called Scarwood. And we had some other zones around here that were going to be used, and some other NPCs that were going to be part of those zones, and we're going to reuse some of those NPCs in this zone. And so it wound up not panning out like too much. We moved some stuff, we reduced scope. We're very much a scope reduction focused team, despite things constantly growing. We're then going back in and reducing and moving stuff around. So the constraints that I would put on you guys when you're thinking about this is we want to reuse existing NPCs, maybe some of which that you haven't seen yet, and I'll tell you which ones those might be, and assets as much as possible. But we'll be getting some new assets as we're starting Fields of the Lost, right? And so what we've got here is it's kind of a temperate forest theme, right? So we've got the pine trees, and we've got the other trees, we've got the rocks, and water and grass and bushes and stuff that you find in Evershade Weald. And so one of the things that I'd put in as a constraint is we can't make new assets. It's assets that we've got for the zones on the left, and then assets that we will be making for Fields of the Lost, which will be more of like a, not like super spooky forest, but kind of like dead trees and more ruins, because this is the site of a big elven battle that was very, very much kind of like the thing that turned the tides and sent the deep elves on their way, right? So this is essentially an area that used to be a city, and then it is long gone, and it's kind of if you've seen war footage and stuff, you've seen kind of like how battlegrounds, it won't be that elaborate, how we do it with props and stuff. It won't be like, it won't be looking like Grozny or something like that, or one of these fully bombed out areas, but it will represent sort of like the forest is grown back, but it's unhealthy and it's kind of wretched and stuff here. So that will allow us to have kind of a transition in themes, or we'll want to have a transition in themes that's, somewhere in here. Whoops. Let me grab this guy. And so at some point we get into we can start using those assets to kind of transition. And that's another thing that this type of zone can do really well for us, is provide some like real estate to allow for a transition, so you can actually see the transition in the theme. Anna Pupper says, since the deep zones are being made, is there going to be a zone like the Underdark? That would be cool. We have an entire, as Shinny said, there will be lots of those. So we'll have an entire map under the map, essentially, or we have a map under the map. So we have, our Underdark is called the Deep. So basically a biome with a bit of the Grudge. I think that's fair. Dead marshes, though. I think, again, I'm trying to find a way to like have that then be applied to kind of like the Keeper style temperate theme, so that we're making like variations on our existing assets and not necessarily, but I mean, we've got Fields of the Lost on the schedule, so we can invest in it. Let's see, let me look. Dead marshes from WoW. Oh, actually, I was thinking of something completely different. Those dead marshes. Yes, I'm a dummy. Thanks, Simon. I would say like dead marshes, more trees. But yeah, I think that's a great reference. So with more of our trees, like grab image. So and then at the transition point, it'd probably be like we're going from having like the green as the worst tree ever, to it just being more like the scraggly trees. Oops. Where it's just these guys, but like dead. I wish there was an easier way to get back to... Yeah, so something like that, like Fields of the Lost having more of that vibe, I think would actually be pretty cool. Yeah, Evershade does have some ruins and dead trees, but not to this degree, right? So let me catch up on some of, make sure I didn't miss anything. Shannon Bay said, is it Shannon Bay or Shannon B? I read it as Bay. Something important to me with outdoor non-dungeon zones is a reason for both high and lower levels to spend time in it. That's something I think you guys already do a good job of, but it would be on my mind approaching a new zone. And that's fair, right? Because what we're going to have is, spoiler, in this zone, there'll be a B. Okay, sorry about that. Shannon B makes more sense as well. So under Fields of the Lost will actually be the Deep Elf City down in the deep, right? So that is something to keep in mind. Because the Deep Elves have come back under this site and built their city under there, right? So there's an opportunity for like lower mid-levels to come in here. One of the things I was picturing with this zone is if it's a bigger zone, we've got a couple giants in Keeper's Bite, but we're really not using a lot of giants, and we've got a Treant that is going to go in game, but we're probably only going to have like a limited number of like big guys in both Evershade and Keepers. So the other thing that Scarwood could potentially do for us is present us an opportunity to use some biggins, right? Like some giants. We've got a lot of space potentially. We're trying to make this something that just feels like there's a fair bit of traversal going on. Let's see, what are some other criteria that we have, right? So let's say we've got potential for big mobs, giant treants. And also, let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. Doggeroni said, I think it's just the name Scarwood influenced me, but I definitely picturing patches of brush, fired pine trees, but burnt trees are probably a new asset. I was actually kind of picturing like the funky dead trees and stuff, kind of having a burnt feel over like, over in Fields of the Lost, not necessarily Scarwood. So I think we could get something like that in. And who knows, maybe, we're brainstorming right now. Maybe there's a reason. One of the things that we'll want to do is, like, because we're talking NPCs. But points of interest. Right? So typically, we don't want to get overly invested in elaborate POIs, but we want to have some POIs, right? So one thing that we don't have over in Keeper's Bite, and we don't have in Evershade, we don't have a lake. We've got like a temperate, nice green environment, but we don't have a lake. If we're going to go maybe marshier with Fields of the Lost, which would be kind of cool, then that kind of has that covered. But like some other rules to keep in mind here is we've got mountains right here, right? On this eastern edge of Keepers, we've got mountains walling it in. And then you can see big mountains in the distance here. And then these are our giant trees here, this tree wall. So we're already seeing mountains and stuff over here. So let's just assume now that we're going to continue the mountain theme as a zone wall here at a minimum. And we've got the mountains here that are part of the desert. And so even if they wind up, for a little bit at least, having a deserty theme, kind of that sandstone theme that we see from Vale or whatever, we know that there's some mountains here. And then that'll transition over into, that's the other zone wall, right? So, oops. You need a Castle Mistmore somewhere in those mountains. I think we'll have you covered in a different area. One Purely, what's up, McKay? McKay and I have been chatting a fair bunch. I'm picking his young brain, but extremely knowledgeable about like Pure. McKay is the enchanter that I met in Unrest like 4 years ago or something like that. And he was like, yeah, I'm just checking out EverQuest for the first time. I'm 22 years old. I was like, that is crazy. And now we're chatting regularly. All right. So another thing that we want to consider is we want this to be traversable, right? Like we want a road of some sort. This won't be it, but we want to get from Keeper's Bite through Fields of the Lost, and probably even through Fields of the Lost, because we know that this is going somewhere. This will continue to take you east. We have plans for east. So the zone is intended to be hostile, SSA Blue Knight. And it's going to be hostile with potential for big mobs, giants, giant treants, maybe big drakes, giant drakes. Who knows? Maybe a dragon. We're constrained by the number of assets, so we'll probably use things. We'll have bears and wolves, and it may be that there's like a crazy, giant dire wolves in here and stuff like that as well. So let me catch up on some of what you guys are saying, so I'm not ignoring you guys. Do a forest with some mesa type geometry disrupting it. I think that hits on a good point, right? We probably don't want this to be wide open. We probably want to break this up with some mountains within it, right? So I think that's a good observation. Redwoods, literal scarred bark, slashes, half-eaten, half leafless trees. It's Miracle, yeah. I can picture that. And so Scarwood, it could be the actual scars on the trees. I think we've always been interpreting it as like damage from the battles that were there that hasn't healed and that type of stuff. But I could see that as well. If we've got giant enemies, and maybe we take our tree asset that we have and it's got like slash marks and stuff on it to kind of convey that there's big stuff in here and lean into the creatures that we have. Valenex said a band of hill giants have moved into the southwest, establishing a foothold. to a forgotten mining cave used by the fallen elves. The fields are lost. So south, west would be opposite, right? So let's go compass rose for you guys. Oops. See if we can make that bigger. Clear the opacity. And this will be north. All right. Old mining cart, Risen Aqueduct Bridge. Path trails off to Fields of Lost, transforming up to Battle of the Burnt Tree Line from an ancient battle. They're going to battle the tree line? You'll have to clarify on that. Have you made invisible people yet? Sort of enchanter pets? Yeah, we've got some shadow people and invisible people. Old band of redwood type trees reside in the north side. Some Ashira have learned to use the mountain area and specialize in hawk pets. Interesting. I wonder if we're Ashira'd out now, or would Ashira in the woods would be. It's worth a discussion, right? Like, is that a thing? Ashira? Question mark. Sojourners. So sojourners are everywhere, right? They're travelers. So there may be some sojourner camps or a sojourner camp in here. We'll do a little dash here so we can keep track of it. We'll also go giant wolves, bears. New faction forced Ashira would be nice. Oh, you guys into that? Isolated Ashira tribe, different from the others. Do you guys land on a name yet for lizard people? The Zukonians probably isn't going to be the final name, but I kind of like Zukonians. Orcs, some orcs hidden in here. We can definitely do that. POIs. I'm going to write down. So far we've got a lake. We've got some discussion of the lake up here. Zone for a ship graveyard. Would that make sense here? I wonder how we would pull that off. Deep elves are starting to emerge and make a mark on the land. Maybe a river in Scarwood carry the earliest signs of that. Yeah, so they definitely, as we get things like deep elves online, you'll start to see them pop up in previous zones where there'll be a little camp here and there. But let's go ahead and mention that. There's no reason why they would not have some outposts now, right? So deep elven outposts / camps, and that'll be for the players that are newbies or emerging from the city here and going into the Fields of Lost and making their way west. This will be a scary zone, but they may be coming over here to like hunt the village over at Keeper's Bite, or like, you know what I mean? Like, so some of these targets that are friendly NPCs for people over here are targets for the deep elves, right? So they're going to make their way across, and maybe, you know, this is the route down. Now they can take, there's a underwater river route where you go through a great sea, down through a river, through deep dunes, and into Night Harbor. So they do most of their trade with Night Harbor in the deep, but they'll definitely have a presence out here. So NPCs, deep elven outpost camps. I mean, that's also NPCs, but that is a, oops. Oh, it's such a small word that it's going to throw me. Here. We'll put it here. We've already said giant camp. With a mine that they've taken over. I think that's a great question, you choose. Why are the deep elves, both as players, like what would be motivating you, driving you this way? But then, like, what are the deep elves doing out here aside from like having a presence, right? Like, some of this looks like shit, so I'm actually gonna it's distracting me because it looks so bad. But what we'll do is go here and we'll just say again. Whoa, that's huge. These will be the mountains that are kind of blocking us in. Just so we remember, so we don't forget. Lots of mountains in the distance. Let's get this guy right here. All right, so giant camp with a mine. That's what we were talking about earlier. If there are mountains, rock golems, we'll have to see. Maybe golems will be done by then. They're on our list. Golems, nice. Giant stone mountain creatures, and that will be mountain theme that we're leaning into here. No Bigfoots. We don't have big feet on the asset list. Corrupted deer around the lake. I could see corrupted animal, but that also would then say that the lake is corrupted. We've got poachers and stuff over here, so maybe there's some brave poachers that have come in that are hunting bigger game. So maybe there's poachers, and that might lead to poacher camp. And if there's sojourners, sojourner camp. And if there's orcs, orc camp or outpost, because we don't want them just necessarily roaming around. So now we're at like, we've got the lake. Now the lake, you guys were saying potentially the giants are there. So Pure just said, and this is 100% what was on my mind earlier, and it's funny. I'm glad you reminded me of this. Underground wood sucks. What is that in response to? Patches. Chip, what are you talking about? Other than just underground wood sucking. So Pure said, a lake with ruins on the floor of the lake, like Lake of Ill Omen. I think that's the zone with the ruins, goblin fish dudes that you can kill underwater would be awesome. Some sort of underwater POIs would be a really cool touch. So that was one of my main reasons for the lake. They're in Scarwood to get wood. Oh, that's a great point, Zillith. They want wood here. So like a deep elving logging camp even? That's interesting. I mean, because they're probably not just buying it from these guys over here in Keeper's Bite, right? But yeah, so I think you're describing Vexar. So one of the things that I was thinking about with a lake would be potentially like, because keep in mind, back in the day, this was all just elven land. The deep elves, the wood elves, the high elves, they all looked the same. They were all the same, right? They were just elves as part of the Califrey conglomerate. And so I was picturing this lake kind of being like a resort area, which I could have sworn when we fleshed out Vexar, it was that was the same concept. So it's probably why I was thinking about it. But like, if you've got this lake, and maybe it's not all the way right here on the side, maybe it's, maybe it's a bigger lake. It eats up some space. Now, if we were on a whiteboard or whatever, and you're like, oh man, what if it was shaped different lake or whatever? It's like, okay, then you could hop up on the whiteboard and you could show up. But we'll just start with this like kind of turd-shaped lake. Though it kind of looks like a slug, which now it's got me thinking of the Sluggalos from DCC. But let's just say we've got a lake here. We'll do, try to remember if I can easily fix that. We'll do another one. Cool. Reminds me of Kano's Hills, rotated 90 degrees. I mean, it is rectangular. We haven't filled in any of the details yet, McInnes. So we'll see if we land there. So many of the EQ zones were just kind of like square, or sorry, rectangular. Let me scroll up because I feel like I might be missing something. Rare crafting materials for sure. Maybe have a quest to rescue them first, like some sort of dignitary. Would it be searching for an escaped captive? Who? Which group? We got, what was Doggeroni saying up here? Patches of woods that are cursed from magic used in a war. Oh, that's definitely a good theme. So we can just do another thing that is just like themes. Oops. So we can keep track of it. And cursed areas, cursed or magically discordant areas still linger after the war. Another thing we have is just resources. Timber and mining. Though the deep elves, I don't know that they'd be mining too much. They're in the deep. They've got access to like so much of that. But for timber, for sure. But above ground, maybe the other folks are coming in from the other angle. And we've got a giant camp with a mine. The lake theme, getting back to that, like I really was picturing like, what if this used to be like a high elf or like an elven resort? And then bits of that have fallen, like basically the ruins of it are scattered around and in it. So I was very much picturing, I think it was like a Vil Omen. So fallen, or ruins, elven resorts at the lake. And that could be secondary. That doesn't preclude us from having like giants and stuff here. It's fun to mix them, actually. Some elves did become sexier than others, Simon. It is true. Shan B said, it could be interesting if, for contrast, the zone was relatively scarred, but underwater the lake was flourishing. Underwater avoided damage from the past. Okay, so maybe the lake is flourishing. We've got another theme will be the thing we're looking at right here. All right, so Fields of the Lost theme. Cool. And then we could say lake is flourishing, which means it could be, that means the lake might be a font of life, right? And maybe that's what's attracted some of, maybe the Sojourners have been attracted to part of it. Maybe the Ashira have, right? So do a little semicolon, font of life, question mark. Corrupted animals can't drink from the lake because it's too pure. Various factions fighting for control of it. Interesting. Factions fighting for control of the lake. Corrupted can't use it, question marks. Wood elf druids at the lake. That makes sense. Wood elves are going to have a present, right? So druids and some of the other factions, but we'll put Wood Elf druids in parentheses, but it'll probably be like the entire Weird Guard maybe going out there, even with the Rangers. So it could be that they're doing some decent incursions. Never seen a Lady of the Lake in an MMO. Is there a lake spirit? Spirit of the lake? Question mark. So move this a little bit, and we may just move this guy, shrink it. Definitely wisps makes sense. Wisps. I want to go up. Zillith asks a great question. Who, if anyone, are deep elves allied with on the surface, and where do they interact with them? So they don't have a ton of allies that I can think of offhand, but I think there's always opportunity for mercenary types and sketchy people like humans and others that have turned, right? Like there's no reason why you wouldn't run into opportunists of various races. So that's something we could explore. Let me see, did I miss anything? Scrolling up more. Not necessarily related to the zone. How many zones are going to have druid circles, wizard spires? Hubstand, that is a great question. That's a good thing for us to just kind of have as a note, right? Like, so we would go, what about druid rings and wizard spires? Does it need any? Do we want any? Or do we like the fact that this is kind of an area you have to get to, right? Because you can hit a druid ring in Evershade and then make your way into here. There may be like evil wizard spires and druid rings in the deep just below there, right? So it's a good topic for us to like hit and go, all right, do we want this? Shady location where deep elf rogues, wood elf rogues trade stuff. Interesting, right? So we'll add this on here as like, is there a shady location? Is there a shady location? And we're using the shady as the M&M term for it, right? So we'll put this on here as well. If you visit the ring, you get the port location. So if we have one, let's put it on here. We go boom, boom, here, boom. Maybe an unlockable. Hey, first, what's going on? Excommunicated a sheer tribe that ventured there, stuck between the elves and their enemies' outposts. All right, so let's put a little note on here. Ashira, if we do them, were they banished? Are they good? Underwater zone dungeon like the one in Butcher Block would also be a super sick addition. Dude, we've got a lot of opportunity for stuff like that. If it's not here, maybe somewhere else. Some kind of connection to the Umbra, although I expect more of that to be north of Phalandrel. Yeah, I could see that. And there, you never know. We may do this type of exercise for a little zone north of that as well. I've got some ideas. I want to scroll up and make sure I'm not missing anything. But you guys can repeat it if... Auto P99 said, should it be old encampments that were sort of triage stations from past battles of Fields of Lost? Maybe, but they would be pretty permanent. Like anything that's still around this long after all of that stuff went down would be like, even the stone ruins are barely hanging in there, right? So this area is very old. There was something that was mentioned that I do want to bring up, which is, I forget who said it, but someone early on, I don't know if it's Darius, somebody had mentioned, mountains or ridges breaking up the zone, right? So within the body of the zone, we'll take this. You guys know there's a road going across now. We don't need this. Hey, Lich. And we'll move this for now. So let's look at the idea that we may have some oops. Maybe we'll just do it with this because we can do it pretty. It's pretty easy to use these guys to. So we may have. We may have some. You know, we may have some mountain pieces and stuff like that that help break up the zone a little bit. So it's not just big and flat and open. All right. So, Baba Yaga Hut mini dungeon. There's first right there, immediately blowing up the asset budget. He just comes, he kicks open the door. And he's like, you know what we need to do? We need to add in some more unique assets. That's so first. And you know, I'm both picking on you. I'm picking on you with love, but it is so true. you and Bill, you guys put on your creativity hats, and it's just like, I'm like, dude, we don't have the budget for that. You're getting bigger bear. You're getting bigger wolf. Yeah, Darius said, okay, cool. Something like mesas. Right, so we'll have some mesas and stuff like that. Anna Pupper said, I will pay for them. The Scarwood, exactly. We'll start, and it happens this way every single time, right? And you guys can kind of see how quickly this could happen too. Like, so far we're talking about stuff that we're reusing, right? As for new assets and sticks weird lerps on it. Exactly. But like what winds up happening is we go, let's make a simple zone. This one will be a super simple zone so that I'm almost afraid to keep like these maces in here, but I know that we can do them pretty easily. But like we'll start and we'll go, let's just make a box zone. Nick knows this story. Every time we'll be like, you know what? Let's just do a simple zone this time. Let's make a box, little rectangle, little displacement map. Paint some grass on it, stick some trees on it. We're going to call it a day. And the next thing you know, it is it is a crazy thing. Not that I'm capable, but what option would there be for players to contribute to asset creation? What we do is essentially whenever we've got a role open, we post it. And so if there are people that have like, naturally people do reach out to us whenever we don't have roles posted. And so if there is somebody, you know, well, let's just say like if you're an experienced artist, 3D artist or whatever, and you want to just kind of like ping us and be, hey, you know, there's maybe not something posted at the moment, but what do you think about this? Then we're always happy to take a look and give you feedback. But for us right now, the main thing we'd be looking for if there was like sort of a, what's the term called? I forget. It's not opportunity. It's when you kind of reach out. It's on job sites. I always forget. Anyways. Oh, don't worry. It's not a paid thing for anybody on the team at the moment. We're all working for free. But it's like the thing that we're looking for is not casting call, not casting couch. If you guys are still out there, some of you, what's it called? It's not like opportunity. It's speculative, I think. Speculative. So, if the environment here is tougher to survive in, maybe the wildlife has adapted to go without food longer. Giant trapdoor spiders instead of wandering ones. Oh, there might be maybe some trapdoor spiders, especially over towards the more desolate theme. So, and that might wind up being a POI over there. From the concept art I've seen are deep elf slavers, for sure. Orcs are as well. Maybe there's some human trafficking and stuff like that going on in the zone. It could be. That could be part of what's going on. And that could be... so above ground, Chippen asked, who might deep elves be allied with above ground? Orcs, as horrific as they are, do at times ally. So... Orcs, maybe slavers working with they got a little rendezvous point up there as well, and maybe even that's who's doing some of the lumberjacking. What's the actual term for it? Voice of Raisin, an hour ago you followed. Thank you for that. I kept meaning to say thanks. Raina Am, thank you for the follow as well. Are there any baddie races like kobolds or gnolls or such on the crew list for the for EA? No, unfortunately, they have been pushed. So it would be after. Logging, thank you. Logging, thank you. I know it's not lumberjacking. As much as I think our skill is actually called lumberjacking, or it was back in the day. What sort of elevation change will the zone be see going west to east or north-south? The southern features, we may have one of those in Fields of the Lost, and that will relate to another zone. But like those features overall are a challenge because they would lead to the deep, and so that's something we're being conservative with. Lich, did I say hi to you? All right, so where are we at now? So far we've got, you know, if we look at it, if we've got 3 to 5 large points of interest, each point of interest, if it's larger, could probably support somewhere between, well, 3 to 5 groups potentially. Right, and so now we've got the lake, and then giant camp with a mine at the lake, right? So one of the things we could start to do is just kind of look at layout, right? Like, how do we want to move these around, you know, or distribute them? Corrupted wood elves at some point, maybe Fae influenced. Yeah, once we eventually get gnolls, it'll be exciting, but ghost wood elves, ghost deep elves, correct. Especially on this side, right, where the battles were. So Fields of Lost side will definitely prep you for that. So let's come in here. Boom. Ghost of... Well, interesting. There may also be... Though the Fae stuff, I would say, let's think about as we go north and maybe save some of that. Would it be Ghost of the Wood Elves? And yeah, let's just do that. But eventually I'd like to get to Ghosts of the old original Califrayan elves, right? So once we have the high elf model in. So Ghosts of Wood and Deep Elves. No, Bill's concept wasn't shown because there's stuff on there that we may use in a different place. Yeah, so I didn't want to... I wanted basically if you're coming in a little bit later, this was like, hey, if we've done brainstorms in the past and we talked a little bit about like how zones actually get made, and just a quick recap on that was like, I was saying that some zones we go in with like pages of details and we're very specific, or some zones, like I was mentioning, Though we have never said what it is and we haven't shown it or anything like that. Yeah, it's badass. There's a dungeon that you haven't seen yet that Simon's working on. And so Simon and Chinny are in there. And that one's based off of Simon actually said, hey, I drew a dungeon map. What do you think about it? And then we talked about like who it could be and maybe some slight thematic changes, which was honestly just coloring in some areas and like, oh, cool, would that work? And then we're pretty good. And then we build the lore out of like looking at the map, thinking about the theme of that area and sort of like what we've got to work with, and then back and forth. And it makes, it's something that makes sense with other things that we're doing. And it's just, so a lot of times, like, it's not, we don't just go into a cabin somewhere and type away for a year and then come back and go, here's the game. It very much is a back and forth process. So, a dried up old well. We can have a little dried up. That's like a little tiny POI. Dried up old well. That could be like an interesting thing to find somewhere. M&M is just a big homebrew campaign. Yeah, basically. But I mean, honestly, this is how every game I've worked on, this is kind of the approach that we take. I've seen games in the past where they had everything figured out. It was in a big binder. It was hundreds of pages. It didn't get made, and eventually that binder was just kind of laying around the office somewhere. But they had figured it all out before they started working on it, but then the game just didn't get made. And what I found is it's a weird balance to find the right level of detail up front because so many things change as you start working on it. Wasn't most or nearly all of Kunark someone's homebrew. If you go check out these VODs, Kevin McPherson, check out that VOD. That is who's, that's who you're describing or talking about right now, actually. Green drakes, black drakes, some mountain forest giants we've got, though we didn't name them. We said giants here. And maybe we'll subdivide this. And we got big drakes. Big drakes. What up, big drakes? I don't know. That's a weird Friday reference. Giant treants, large drakes, and we'll say green and then black, especially to the east. That may make sense. Black. We'll have to dig into that a little bit. Big versions of critters, giants. We'll say, they'll note mountain and forest. Corrupted forest giants. That's a whole thing that could be explored. Let's go themes. Corrupted forest giants. What's corrupting them? What's corrupting them? Dead treants. Yes, very good call. Because we got the giant treants, and then we've got the what deaded them? Maybe there's something going on here.
Any goats?
Are there any goats? We don't have any goats yet, babe.
Okay, then I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay. Sleep good. Let me scroll up. So first, we want this to be a pretty low invest zone, like mostly a traversal zone, very minimal on like the complexity of any cave systems or dungeon stuff. There may be mini dungeons that you will find later that we can stick in here. One of the things to keep in mind, especially with how we're approaching stuff, is there is nothing wrong. Like, so we talked about the lake and we used the Lake of Little Omen reference. Well, those ruins were there for ever since Kunark, but it wasn't until like 2003 or something 2002, 2003 that Vexar came online, right? So it wasn't until then that you could actually go in there. So if we've got ruins and stuff in here, then that's the thing that we can come back and explore later. Cool. Mutated corrupted beasts, size, color, skin tweaks, like diseased rats. Maybe a snake or first Hydra. Buddy. We're constrained. I typed that before my speech. You couldn't have typed that before my speech. How many times have I given you this speech first? Speech will, first we'll come back with like, he'll come back with a breakdown of design, and it's good stuff, right? Like, it'll be 10 new monsters. Like, dude, staple some snakes together. We'll be gluing snakes together till Christmas. Could always do an archaeology patch and somehow the lore, NPCs dug up an ancient dungeon in the zone and bam, new content. Exactly. Will there be access to the deep from the DE logging camps? There'll be access to the deep via Fields of the Lost and then down. So they'll have to transport snakes with wings, snakes with horns. Detrions. Certain mobs spawn at night. That's where there's ghost corrupted mobs about. For sure, we can lean into that. We'll make a note. Day, night, / night differences. Right? And we'll note ghosts, etc. Zukin absolutely said he would show me how to glue wings on everything so I can start making new mobs. And then he'll show me how to update the dervish model as well. So not only can I glue some wings on an eyeball, I can make a dervish of eyeballs with wings. All right, so let's go back to put cool ruins where they would make sense or just look good. They can always be something later. Exactly. Right. And so like these little old Califrey ruins, they'll be spotted throughout the zone as we go. Right. And that's something that we kind of do once we get in there. And that may be something that the environment artists do as they're in there, or that may be something that because designers can do props and stuff or, which is a pretty cool opportunity in this project for us to be able to get in and add stuff pretty easily. Then we can kind of go do it as we go. But so we have ideas for POI started, and we can always add more as we're talking, and especially as we're kind of looking at some of this and going, all right, where is, orc camp, outpost / slave camp. So look at. Yeah, we are planning phase evolution of the world over time. And that's just part of that's just by necessity as we're working towards 1.0. So if we look at this, we've got the lake, we've got deep elven outpost camps, poacher camp, sojourner camp, potentially a Shira camp. We've got quiet music in background. Let's see. Ghosts. One of the things that's always kind of good to do and fun to do here is start to look at like the distribution of this, right? And so I've got these set up with dashes, but it may have been better if we came in here and we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Lake needs a fishing dock for sure. Like that one thing that you put in, perhaps the ghosts from each side make a journey to and from the lake structure, or one or the other day and night, and they could do a bit of fighting in some places, like reenacting a fight. Yeah, I think that would be cool, right? So we've got do they reenact? Reenact? Is that how you spell it? Battles at night. So even here, we could start to kind of break down where we might start to see concentration. So it's not a true POI, but we could even, as a number here, we could go concentration, right? So maybe it's because we've got giants kind of figured out. Oh, this is somebody else's music. That's why it's so... I hate that this happens in... every once in a while, it just stops looping the playlist. But only on my other account. When I'm on my paid account, I never have to click, yes, I'm still listening. Tenderly entering said, call it Bexar. Yeah, we've got to watch that. Faction camps are all around the lake and can constantly one-upping each other like summer camp movies. We'll have to give this lake a good name, like Wakachobi or something. So we could say Ghosts 11 Golems, and maybe it's like golems and mountain giants. Maybe they even don't like each other, who knows. Titicaca, yes. So was it Silver Lake? Drakes, if we're trying to like sort of localize some of it, which then creates its own like opportunity for POIs. Is there a nest there or whatever? So even here, if we look at it and we start to go, let's make this bigger, make it 100% 1. So we got lake. And what I'll do for now so that it doesn't move around a bunch is I'll come here. I'll lock it. Cool. Though, let's see. Unlock all. Take this one out of the way and we'll lock it. Cool. So we got a lake. To maybe the traders travel through the zone at a certain time, being attacked by bandits, and if you help kill the bandits, they'll give a reward. Yeah, it's a fair point. There's bound to be bandits as well, right? And so we'll have to define a path at some point, like a road goes through somewhere in here. And now may be a good time for it, right? Because that can help us understand. Move this. I don't think we need it anymore. If there are traders, is there an outpost or an inn? There may be an outpost, but we have an inn right here. Like we've got a glorious inn right here, which all of a sudden becomes a little bit more valuable, right? Because we've got this trend, like this travel going on. So we got how do we want to do this? Do we want to define like do we want to define a road? And it doesn't have to just be one road, maybe it splits. Needs a giant hole in the ground to the Underdark. That's in a different zone. Because then we want to make sure there's Underdark under here, right? We want to make sure there's a deep zone under here. And there is for sure a deep zone. But, I mean, it could be something over in this corner. Right? We may find ourselves kind of... It could be there's an opportunity for something to fall into here. It could be we even have that thing in progress right now. So, without revealing too much at the moment. So, and we can just, we'll make this purple so that we remember that it's deep related, and we'll make it thicker. So, Duggaroni says, I like that one section of road going through the mesas in the north as the road. Official road and unofficial road, that's a good point. Let's mention that. Let's keep track of that. I'm going to keep these notes, and then we can do this again in a coming... we could continue this Tuesday if you guys are enjoying it. I don't know. You let me know. Official road and unofficial road. Treant Graveyard. That's an interesting idea. Tuesday, yeah. I'm switching my stream days to Tuesday and Thursday instead of Wednesday and Friday for the rest of the summer because it lines up better with Jasmine's schedule. Caravan routes may not use standard roads to avoid raiders. So what do you guys think? Which one? Say we've got an official and unofficial. Oh, did I write down? I did write down Treant Graveyard. Perfect. Petrified corpses of ancient treants. I like it. We'll make a note. Petrified corpses. By the way, just quick disclaimer. Participation in this zone creation brainstorm process does not entitle you to any future monetary benefit, or all your ideas now belong to us. The end. We will reward you. We will reward you this year with some playtest time. Treant Sapling Graveyard. Curses that their saplings do not grow beyond a certain age. Interesting. If not here, somewhere maybe. All right, we'll pay you in the form of playtests this year. I promise. Hey, Ali, what's going on, dude? Pygmy Forest Ogres. I don't... We would have to talk about... Really? Pygmy Forest Ogres, Zukin? Little ogres that aren't dwarves, they are not dwarves. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's do this road real quick before we run out of time tonight. I want to get the road locked down. So we've got an upper path So is the upper path, the unofficial path, is that the one that seems safer because it's sketchier, so you're less likely to be attacked? Is that what you're thinking? That's what I'm thinking. Oh, I forgot this is locked. Let me unlock this now. Speaking of playtests, any foreseeable dates in the near future? Near future, I don't think so. But not too distant future, maybe. Ali was saying he wanted to test some stuff. Waterfall with a cave behind it. Grimday, I think all of our waterfalls have caves. It'll be a shock if there's not a cave behind a waterfall. Only halfway sarcastic on that one. Oh, my posture. Someone just responded about the roads. Who was it? Where did it go? It just disappeared. Oh, that is an interesting dynamic that I just saw. The Treant Graveyard. Of interest to loggers. And they're like poaching loggers as well. So official paths should be better, maybe just faster, but more dangerous. So we'll have official path. I think that if the mountainous path is the sketchy route, then it's kind of like a, why would you go there, right? Like, if it's, well, but I guess it is sketchy, but in a different way. Like, help, let's make that make sense. Wolverine Tooth, that is a possibility in the future. See you, Swanee. Thanks, buddy. Have a good one. It's more direct. So would the other road go... Shorter, safer, but harder terrain. Longer, more open, easier to attack. Mountain path is longer, safer route, but they're hidden treants. So they'll be hidden, some sort of hidden monsters. Maybe not treants. All right, so then we'll have to make it make sense in terms of like why it is longer down here. Or maybe it's just different dangers. So do one, and we'll do another one. We'll just do this for now. It's all placeholder. We can work with this more later. And maybe it changes. Maybe there's multiple routes, but the we could push the zone line for fields further north, making the mountain pass shorter. There we go. That could work as well, right? So that's us evolving things a bit. We'll just draw on this then. Not that way though. And then we'll come back to here. Oops. Well, actually, the whole zone doesn't need to move, just the entrance. All right. And again, all this is stuff that we can tweak as we're going. This so far has just been the first quick little brainstorm exercise, right? And then this will probably extend down here. Cool. All right. So, and then one of the things that we'll do in the future session is we can look at some of these ideas. And then we can start to map them out so that we start to look at our distribution, right? As we get our numbers, we can start to get a feel for like what's where. Is this interesting enough? Does this reinforce a theme? Does this start to build like a sub theme? Will there be a smaller village there with either halflings or humans? There could be. There could be a village somewhere, like we've talked about campers. We've talked about campers at the lake, and that the different camps would have tournaments, like riding the little tricycle while drinking beer and holding an egg and a spoon and stuff like that. But we've got sojourners, we've got poachers, we've got bandits. We could just have some hapless people out there just in a, in some huts, right? So, but that'll be something that we can talk about. Nicodemus said, Deep Elf Sphere of Influence. Should the Deep Elf Sphere of Influence be in the Scarwood, or should Fields of the Lost zone line be the boundary between Deep Elves and Wood Elves? No, there'll be Deep Elves in here for sure. I mean, a villager where you can sell a loot. That we will have a. We had mentioned a shady. Somewhere we mentioned a shady outpost. Where is it? I swear we mentioned down here. I thought. We for sure wrote it down, did we not? Further to the left on my screen. Oh, over here. You're right. Oops. Is there a shady location? It was a question to be had. And then one of the things that we have to ask is it NPCs, or is it a house that or an inn or a thing that players could rent? Right? Like, is there an opportunity there? Or is it both? Because it'll be similar to Shallow Shoals, where we've got like that player island essentially, right? So next thing you know, like you've got a guild that's kind of running their own shady operation. That'd be kind of interesting. Or just a player, or, you know, whatever, static group. Making sure I'm not missing anything too crazy right now. Cool. All right, so I think we've hit a pretty good stopping point for tonight. But you can see how quickly like a zone can come together just reusing mostly existing assets. Right? These are all things that we've got so far. I don't think we added anything new here. Got a nice start on POIs. I think as we're fleshing out these guys, it'll reinforce some of the POIs, and then we can start to distribute them on the map. And then we got some themes to work through as well. So that's pretty cool. And, you know, this is, as I said, this is a fairly standard process that we're using. This is the way we did it back on EQ. This is the way I've done it on Zone since then. Now we're not going to do too many zone designs because we don't want to, like, you know, we don't want to spoil it for you guys. But this was one of those ones where I was like, hey, what if we could, we had a zone that we cut, but if we could come up with something simple enough, then maybe we could take this from the brainstorm, like the ideation phase, all the way through. Like once we've got a rough map, we can flesh out the map a little bit more. Then we could give that to Bill. Bill could make us a nice pretty map maybe, because he does those pretty quickly. We could give that over to like Bjorn, who could use the tool that we use to create sort of the base terrain then. And then since it's all existing props and things like that, then we could on stream get in and like start to flesh these things out, and then we could populate it, right? So that's I think, because I'm, like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, it's really hard for me to do, it's impossible for me to do some of the stuff that I got to do, like write lore or whatever on stream. It's hard for me to do a lot of data design stuff because I'm just like awkward in the database and it's slow and it's just not productive. But like something like this, we've just spent a couple hours working on it. It's made good progress, and I think we could do this in some streams and like build at least one zone together and kind of see what you guys think. So, so there's a forest, treants, overtaken by spiders. We've got a lot of spider stuff going on in Evershade at the moment, so we'll likely have some for sure, but we'll see how prominent they are. Because one of the other things that we want to do in these zones is like get a nice distribution between the zones as well, so it's not too samey. You could always send out a poll, ask players questions, like if you could put an item, location, and zone, what would it be? Oh yeah, I think we'll do stuff like that in the future. It's fun asking you guys stuff. Cool stream. I'll remember this little map when I step in the zone for the first time. I was excited for the next opportunity to play. And you know what? I really appreciate you guys. Like, you're fun to work with. All the brainstorm sessions have been a lot of fun in the past. So my main concern was not you. My main concern was like, was this going to be like a weird vibe in terms of like, would it come together? But it feels like it's coming together pretty good. So. Will the lake have a Haddon? Very possible. All lakes should have Haddons, whether or not they drop anything cool. All right, so this will be our stopping point for tonight. We'll start to put the numbers on. We'll look at distribution. We'll get it kind of figured out. I'm excited for Tuesday then, because honestly, I would love to. I'd love to get this to the point where we're like working in the zone. Not next week, because we're going to continue to do this sort of like quick design for it on Tuesday. I'm going to be out on Thursday of next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday of next week, because I've got the big airsoft thing that we're doing. And then, but the following week, we could look at, basically kind of see where we're at. Because if we can get this on Tuesday, if we can get to this point where we feel pretty comfortable handing it over to, Bill to maybe flesh out a little bit, and we'll see. It could be that we get to a point where we're ready to go. Like Bill could come in after the fact and make a pretty map once we're done. But we can get this to basically Bjorn, get the displacement map kind of built out. We go in there and we can start playing around, pulling spurts and stuff, get it looking the way we want, and then slam in the props and stuff for the following month or so. So yeah. What I'll do is, as soon as we're done here, I'll save this into a folder, and then we'll have it for next week, hopefully, if it saves properly. At a minimum, I'll bake some images as well. But so far, this tool has been good at like not having corrupted data or anything. When are you going to give us access to all your notes? Dude, my notes are unreadable. I'm a mess. But maybe one day in the distant future, you'll be given access to the Confluence or something. Are there any, that's right, Dagaroni, you asked that earlier. Are there any player housing options related to the faith system? Like, could players run a temple or monastery? I don't see why not. I don't think we've got anything, I don't think we've got anything written down on that yet, though I did add a note about DCC. Actually had me thinking about different faiths being able to basically take over a shrine and stuff like that. Any use of AI stuff in any part of the workflow so far? Mainly brainstorming or searching information. Like, we've got our Confluence in, like, just upload it as a PDF to a Eminem specific GPT, so that we can, like, hey, find this for me, and like, give me 100 different variations of blah, blah, blah. And then it's really, honestly, I've found after playing around with it, it's not really good at making final product. It's really good about ideation and giving you a bunch of like ideas, which is no different than, though a bit better than, like, if you've worked in pen and paper, like tabletop, there'll be those, you can get the PDFs that have all of the various tables, and it's like, help me design a personality for random NPCs, and it'll be like, oh, I rolled a 34, quirky and likes fish. Okay. And then most of the time when you're dealing with stuff like that, you're like, that's kind of weird, but I guess like something would be cool. Maybe it's pretzels instead. I got that. Okay. Like, it's just good for ideation. It's a great thesaurus. It's an okay thesaurus. I've noticed you'll find patterns, like it recommends the same kind of words and phrase structure and stuff like that. So again, I see it as a handy colleague to, like, throw out ideas. It's just not a plug and play solution of like, all right, like, create this final thing and have it feel right. But it's not bad. It's good for brainstorming. But I think human touch is always going to be, well, maybe not always. A human touch is going to maintain its value for a while. All right, guys, it's 11 o'clock. I'm going to call it for tonight. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Hopefully your weather's as good as ours, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks again for this. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll turn it into a thing. We'll make a zone together. Chia, see you shoes. Byro, Sarinth, Meeks, you too, thank you. Oh, nice and cool in the Pacific Northwest, and beautiful, I'm sure. See you, Chat Solo. Glad you guys made it back safe. See ya, Doggeroni, Zukin, Tsunami-san. See you in Slack, John. Yeah. Good night. Good night. Guild chat. Viper494. See ya. See you, Simon. Good idea there, Thin. I love that. Good night. First. Dragon. Coot. G. Willikers. Lich. Zinfar. See ya. See ya, Blue Knight. Zumanji. Later, Dark Inside. See ya, Pure. Later. Later, Bill. Navarre. Candies. Feinder. Darius. Matthias. Worn Out. All right, guys. Save to. This will be Scarwood. I'm going to stop before I push save to file, just in case like directory pops up and there's secrets in it or anything like that. Too tired to care. All right, see ya. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. I think that's it for tonight. And I'm going to push the button now. Those of you watching the VOD, if you're still watching this, hopefully you had a good time. Let me know in the comments. And if you want to be more interactive, then hop in the stream and be a part of this in the future. So, see you, drops. All right, guys. Good night.